And the messages will show soon, and I'll share some of them with you. But there are some people who say that they do not really like the description that I began by the reference to the Galamseyers as criminals. Well, it was a general statement about they involved in criminal activity because Galamsey is crime. And Kofi Bento is making the headlines on the JoyNews portal. You want to say anything about that?
Yes, I want to say that the point I made is that the state does not owe criminals an alternative livelihood. It's a statement which is true. It does not say all Galamseyers are criminals.
Okay.
I'm saying it's a principle that we need to start from in organizing society, especially because this country, we tend to move in such a way that sometimes, for instance, when people go and take over lands that are not theirs, and now you want to move them, maybe for a state or some other purpose, they'll tell you they won't move until you relocate them.
Okay.
We need to manage all these things well, but the principle still should remain that if somebody is guilty or involved in criminal activity, that person does not have a right to demand that he will not stop because you have not given him something else to do. We need to manage all these things and try and avoid as much confusion as possible.
Right.
We should take it in that step.
A good friend of mine, Clement Akapan, says that resource-rich economies always have to grapple with the choice of environmental protection and economic development. Strong forest and mining laws that balance the two, ensuring sustainable development, are critical to fighting illegal mining in Ghana. So on point. Elvis Ohiming Mensah says that in place of the Council of State, can we have the Council of Ex-Presidents? We already pay them, plus they have experience as presidents. Okay, so you're right, we already pay the ex-president and they have experience as ex-presidents.
Supposed to be in the Council of State.
Okay. Now, Rubin Sarr says that the ministry must not burn the excavators. It should rather be used in covering and filling the deep pits that have been left at the Galamsey sites. Okay, so that's a view that you share. And I also say that maybe they should take a cue from what the law says. The minerals and mining law says that even where we catch these people and we prosecute them and we are successful at convicting them, the machines, the equipment should be seized and should be confiscated, and then there should be in the Gazette, we should tell what we have seized and then distribute them among state entities that have need for them. But people are afraid that when you do some of these things, these machines may find their way back to their owners and may be used wrongly. Haruna Ilyasu in Tamale says that in 100 days, the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government has achieved what Mahama couldn't achieve in 8 years. Wow. You're serious about that? He says, if for nothing at all, the dollar has been arrested. Inflation declining steadily. Kokubako says you should be careful about this one. You never know what will happen. Business confidence boosted. Corruption done away with. Really? NSS allowances increased. Okay. You love the politicians, don't you? And the stuff that they have to say about a whole lot of stuff. Okay. Now, let's move on now and let's deal with the bond issue. You know that government has issued a 2.25 billion bond, and that bond issue has been dogged with some controversy. Some say it's a needless controversy. Some say it's a germane issue that requires the attention the minority is raising. Allegations of conflict of interest against the finance minister, which initially also was in the Attorney General was included, but now it looks like they are moving away from the Attorney General a bit and focusing it on the finance minister and his relationship with his company and someone else who is there and belongs to Templeton, those who got this bond issue dealt with. And Dr. Bawumia actually feels that this was display of ignorance on the part of the minority that makes him so sad. Now, let's listen to these bits and pieces that have come as a result of the bond issue, and then we'll come to the studio to have the discussion.
Longer term debt. This is what is happening. And so you saw that last Friday or so, Ghana issued a bond essentially to do this reprofiling. And in that context, we raised some $2.25 billion of investment that came in to buy this CD-denominated bond. There was a CD bond which was issued for 15 years tenor, 15-year tenor, and that brought in 2.25 billion. But what is so remarkable about this particular transaction, and I think it is, for me, the deal of the year so far.
The bond was virtually participated by only 2 investors. The whole bond transaction was shrouded in secrecy to the extent that Ghanaian investors were denied opportunity to participate in the deal. In essence, the entire deal lacks transparency. One single investor by name Franklin Templeton, which is a known non-resident investor, everybody knows him, investor that patronized both domestic and sovereign bonds in the past, purchased almost 95% of the latest government domestic bond. The size of this is virtual private placement, makes it akin to sovereign bond or foreign loan. Some have argued that this bond purchase should not be compared with our sovereign bond rates. We would be reminded that our domestic bonds have a hybrid, the cedi and the forex feature, and therefore when non-resident investors bring in foreign currency at a time of purchase, they hold the equivalent cedi bond in the same implicit foreign exchange, foreign currency. Therefore, when the eventual sale, they sell, they expect to repatriate the proceeds in the US dollar or other convertible currencies. Hence, the above 95% bond withholding that Templeton is holding is technically a dollar-denominated bond.
It shows a lack of understanding. The minority have never understood this economy, and it's just amazing that people on that side who were actually in charge of managing the economy will be making such statements. It shows ignorance. It really shows ignorance, and I am so sad when I hear that from people who should know better. And so they need to understand. Maybe they should read a little. They need to understand what took place. We issued a CD bond. There's no secrecy. It was very well invested in. The holders have invested many times in Ghana. The bonds that were in place when SECTEC issued them, they bought them. 24% interest rate. This time is 19%. So we are doing even much better. But this is what politics has been reduced to, trying to say things which really have no basis and are basically wrapped in ignorance. So I'm a bit sad for Ghana and for them, because they are really demonstrating a lot of ignorance of the process of management of this economy. And I think that is where we are.
The voice sounded like him, and I have no reason to doubt that is the vice president who spoke. But I doubt that this matter can come from the mouth of a vice president. Because, one, it is not presidential, as I said, and clearly the fact that we should recognize that the minority has a big responsibility given to them by the Constitution of this Republic as a major stakeholder in governance to raise concerns when they think that things have not gone well for the betterment of this country. Our concerns are simple. I heard the Vice President talking about the fact that one, the company concerned, Franklin Templeton, has been in the system. We've never denied that. We've said they've been in the system in the past. But what we are saying is the circumstances that this bond was issued is very much so very different from what we have seen in the past. Secondly, the Vice President made comment that in the past we issued a bond at 24%. Let me say clearly and ask the Vice President some few questions.
Right, so you've basically been listening to Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President, and Ato Forson, who is a former Deputy Minister of Finance. Now, you, Kofi Bento, You said to explain this bond matter to your grandmother for her to properly understand without any difficulty, because people have a difficulty understanding what the bond issue really is about. This is what you had to say. You said Ghana's debt stock has not increased. Example, if we owed $10, we still owe $10. Ghana's debt profile has improved. For example, if we were to pay $10 next week, we now have to pay it next year. And finally, Ghana's cost of debt has reduced. Example, if we were to pay $2 interest on the $10, now we have to pay $1. So you say this is your simple explanation of the bond issue. But that's not the controversy. The controversy is about the process being shrouded in secrecy and potential conflict of interest for which the minority is calling for investigations. Where do you stand?
Yes, Samson, honestly, facts are sacred and opinions are free. If you said that's not a controversy, that is one of the things we are being invited, okay, to proceed on. The NDC laid out something and they made all kinds of suggestions, never made an accusation. One was that you said you will not borrow, why are you borrowing? 2, there is conflict of interest. 3, Mr. Templeton is an individual who came and bought 95% of the thing, you know, and a couple of other things, which are all generally opinions, okay, that they want us to follow or interrogate. And the point I want to make is that, look, there is a poem that starts like this: go placidly amidst the noise and hustle, and remember what peace there may be in silence. Desiderata. If they waited a bit, if they just looked at the issues a bit more closely, instead of being in a haste to respond, they would have had a better dealing with this thing. I am all for due process. And even if you want to do good, due process is necessary. But the president has told you he's in a hurry. We all know this country was left in terrible debt situation and all kinds of situations that have happened. So clearly you need to do something quickly to stop the bleeding. So there may be reasons why the finance minister wants to do this or do that. But are you telling me that because it looks like there is a conflict of interest, there is a conflict of interest? And if there is a conflict of interest, or it seems so, that does not mean a crime has been committed. So what I'm simply saying is that there is the fact of the matter. Mr. Templeton is not an individual. Franklin Templeton is an institution. They have been involved in bonds in this country. Okay, and there's so many things to say about this particular bond.
The NDC does not deny that.
Well, they seem to suggest, and many people actually thought, you know, based on how they put it, which is why I'm saying, take a bit of time. Some of these things, they are not too, you know, obvious to the eye. You know, go through the thing and let's see, tell me where there has been a problem. There will always be somebody who floats the bond, who underwrites it, and who does all kinds of things, and they will be paid. Okay, give me some real reason why you believe something untoward has happened. Meanwhile, look, this bond happened. We did not have a road show, which cost money and time. We did not have an expensive razzmatazz around it. All right. For me, that is an indication of something, and that thing is positive.
Right. But the NDC says that, and are these facts or they are not? They say that the Honorable Trevor Trevgan is not just a board member of the Enterprise Insurance Limited, a company owned partially by the current finance minister's company, Databank Limited. But Trevor is also a director of Franklin Templeton, which is the main participant in the recent bond issue. They say, putting these apparent facts together, we have reason to believe that there is a relational interest between our finance minister and Trevor, which creates a potential lack of transparency and conflict of interest. As we all know, the Constitution also provides, and then they were talking about the need for prior parliamentary approval. Are they speaking to facts? they say that the current Attorney General is also associated with the Enterprise Insurance, Limited or Group. And that, the current Attorney General.
So that's
and that, that she resigned a day after the deed had been consummated.
Yes.
Okay.
The deed had been consummated. And that from there, what they know, she ought to have given her legal advice or opinion on the matter. They put all these together and say there's potential conflict of interest. You say there is not. In the presence of these facts,
there is potential conflict of interest. And look, I don't remember the case, but I think Oleolu is the one who made that ruling that if in Ghana we are going to use connections, whether by relation or otherwise, okay, to rule out certain things. Do you remember that case? Nothing can be done in this country. We are a very small country, and somebody actually said 500 people run this town. So my point is, as for potential conflict of interest, something, if I do a business with you, there is potential conflict of interest. The truth is, was there an actual conflict of interest? That's why I read this desiderata and said, take your time and do these things. Okay, so some of the things they've said is true. Okay, I know Mr. Trafgan personally. I can vouch based on my knowledge of him, which runs over 10 years, that I don't think he will do anything untoward. And his history is there in terms of business is done in this country. So you can't use this one case because he has some connection here or there. If you look at the work that the present minister has done in this country, there is almost no major financial transaction that he wouldn't have advised somebody or had a friend involved or one way or the other. So my point is, let us not put suppositions together and arrive at a conjecture. This is Parliament speaking. These are people who have been ministers before. You have the organs of state. Okay, take a bit of time, look through the issue, and tell us where there's a problem. Let's deal with it. Because I'm saying we are a nation in a hurry. We don't have to be where we are. So I can understand that if somebody can call or make a call or do certain things or leverage his personal networks to get something that is good for Ghana, there's a problem that says that he who is seeking good for Kotoko, okay, should not be opposed. I think they will be in all hurry to do those things, but let us check them and say, well, the fact that we have to do all these things tomorrow does not mean you should go this way or that way. But don't just throw up conjecture when there is none. Potential conflict of interest, is there one? If it's potential, did something really happen? Did we overpay for this bond? Question, do we know anybody who wanted to buy our bonds that we did not give the bonds to? Okay, if there is anybody, I think we can organize another bond sale for that person. Okay, don't we even have a choice? If we had many buyers to pick one or two, I'd rather have 2 people I owe than 3,000 people that I owe. Did we lose money in this thing? And did somebody do something which actually constitutes something that they should be reprimanded for or not? Honestly, I want to know. So far, I haven't heard anything. What I'm hearing is that it doesn't look good because it looks like this person was connected to that person, and it's all conjecture up in the air, suppositions, and we are being invited, okay, to just rubbish this whole thing, which is a very good thing that has given Ghana a lot of breathing space. Okay, so I think NDC should do better. Let me say, it is within their rights. This is what opposition parties must do, to question, okay, and to call for better scrutiny on things like this. But to suggest that there's something underhand going on, I think it's a bit too far, and they should have taken a bit of time before coming out.
George, the Finance Ministry has issued a statement of this. First of all, if I may ask, have you had the opportunity to read that statement?
Yeah, I think I scanned through.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, so when you read, what does it tell you about all of the claims that the NDC has had to make about this?
Thank you very much. It tells me simply that the finance, in all this, if there's somebody who didn't help, it was the finance ministry.
They say this, and maybe I should just read these bits.
Yes.
They say that the ministry considers the statements by the NDC as unfortunate, especially as it was fronted by the Honorable Kessel Atto Forcing, a former Deputy Finance Minister, who knows very well the workings and processes for the issue of domestic bonds, and as such, should not be making such baseless allegations. As such, the ministry has no choice but to surmise that these allegations are maliciously designed to malign and negate the positive news and rave reviews this landmark transaction has garnered both locally and internationally. The minority statement sets out 3 major claims which the ministry will like to clear. A, that the issuance was shrouded in secrecy to the extent that other investors were denied the opportunity to participate in the transaction. B, the transaction was cooked, quote unquote, cooked to favor a particular investor, Franklin Templeton, let's call them FT, just because a director of one of the funds, FT managers, knows the finance minister. And finally, that the transaction should have received parliamentary approval because it technically should be considered to be a dollar-denominated sovereign bond issue due to the level of foreign investor participation, and that, in the view of the minority, it amounted to a private placement. Now, here are the answers they gave to the first charge. And the first charge is that the issuance was shrouded in secrecy, and one person choosing, one firm choosing in a certain way. It says the issuance was not shrouded in secrecy, nor was it cooked for any particular investor. The book runners, Barclays, Stanbic, and SAS, on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, have been mandated since 2015 to issue these domestic bonds on a regular basis as per the debt issuance calendar, which Ministry of Finance puts out every quarter. Also, the book runners announce and publish every impending bond issued to the market, the week of issue, and provide price guidance to the market. This particular bond issue was no different and was done in conformity with the established process. It was announced by the book runners to the market on March 30 via email, and same published on the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana websites, with settlement on April 3. FT, Franklin, FT was not the only participant. There were over 25 other buyers, including other foreign entities, who all brought in dollars to convert to cedis to buy the bonds. Like Kofi Bentil said, if you had waited a bit, and this is what the finance ministry is telling you, that you say it was done to favor just one person. They say there were 25 other buyers. Number 2, on the issue you raised about the transaction having been cooked, they say this bond issue, like all other done prior, could not have been designed to favor any single investor. The conventional processes for the issue of the bonds using the book building approach were adhered to. In this particular issuance, it was our understanding that the said investor engaged various market participants and other key institutions, including the IMF, before deciding to participate in the bonds. It is worth noting that local investors also participated. The said investor participated in the issuance in the manner they have always done since 2006 through their local primary dealer, Barclays Bank, and their local custodian, Standard Chartered Bank and Stanbic Bank, to have obtained preferential treatment. Now watch this. To have obtained preferential treatment, all the above mentioned institutions would have had to conspire to do so, a situation which is unfathomable. The investor in question, FT, Franklin Templeton, has held government of Ghana bonds of up to USD 2 billion prior to the transaction. Indeed, FT has been buying and investing in government bonds since 2006. And then your final allegation, this is how they respond to it. And your final allegation is that they ought to have received parliamentary approval. Well, there are legal lawyers who disagree. Ace Kuma has written extensively about it, that it didn't need parliamentary approval. Then this is what the finance ministry says. They say the issuance, like all other domestic bonds issued under this bond program since 2015, did not require parliamentary approval. Approval was given under the initial application to Parliament in the 2015 budget statement and economic policy document to run such a bond issuance program. The Ministry of Finance has the mandate to fund the deficit as contained in the budget approval by Parliament through the issuance of debt instruments to manage the country's debt stock. So, what do you say?
Well, I have told you from the beginning, I think that there's anybody who has even managed this issue more. The ministry's response.
Explain.
I'll tell you what. First and foremost, let me take cognizance of that, or let me put it on record. That you see, the ministry should realize that they are a state institution. And so when you are replying something like this in the public domain, you don't personalize it, and you do not denigrate a former minister of finance or deputy minister of finance for that matter. I think that respect should be given where it is, and they should take cognizance of whoever wrote that. To be ashamed of this on yourself.
It is denigration of him to say that he was in a position to have known better.
We are saying that.
And that what he was doing was malicious.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think that it is not fair, it is not right, it's not decorous for a state institution to do that.
Okay, proceed.
Secondly, you see, the issues we are talking about, they are basic issues. You see, I was listening to my brother Kofito. He went around and came back to the point that we are making. What is it? Very simple. One, there are three key things. Let me start with Ace and Kuma and parliamentary. You see, case Ace is talking about Klomega and GPAG. But that can be distinguished. That decision can be distinguished. What was in that decision? That decision was very clear. That you see, because GHPA was taking those bonds on their balance sheet, right? So they didn't have to come to Parliament for parliamentary approval. And in the context of things, they cannot be seen to be government, even though they are a government institution. But you see, when it comes to this is a public debt. This is kind of government debt. That is why we are saying that, in fact, that's why Bawumia said that we are reprofiling our debt. And Bank of Ghana hasn't got the same standing as GPHA because they are not taking this thing on their books. That is why we are saying that to the extent that it is public debt being taken on the books of the government of Ghana and going to be paid by the ordinary people of Ghana, cabinet approval or executive or parliamentary approval would be needed. Because you see, think about it. Why in God's name did the whole concept of parliamentary approval ever come into our public loans and debts and things like that? Go into the Constitution 183(1) up to 5. You read it carefully. It just tells you that they want everybody to be sure that there is some transparency and that this country is not entering into a contract that we may not be able to service. And that is the reason why we are saying that a gargantuan sum of 2.25 billion is not something that we should take for granted.
But for our listeners' sake,
no,
this has been done in the past.
Wait. I am saying that, please. No, you see, did you listen to the ministry? It says that we are only doing this because Parliament had given us sort of a blank check. If you read what they said.
They said that you have already approved.
The Parliament had actually approved.
Which is true and has happened in the past.
He said, since 2015, they have gone. I may be wrong, and I was busy yesterday. I wanted to go and find, so I'm sure Kweku, looking at his papers, would find something in there. What I remember, for instance, in the bond, I think that's the Euro bond, but let me just use that as an example. What I remember, we said that we gave the minister the power to borrow up to a certain amount. So he could have borrowed less or more. Fine, let's. But I believe that in this case, it would have been proper for parliamentary, because that parliament that gave that approval in itself is a dead parliament. This is a new parliament. And so we should have taken.
The approval has already been given.
No.
You don't have to go back.
You see, we have listeners which you educate.
I'm telling you that.
You are suggesting that dead approval.
At a certain point, Parliament itself, when you are doing any business and it dies,
the things that the old parliaments had approved would then do what? They will not stand.
You see, this is a new business entirely. Right. Now, let's also go on to this whole idea of profiling.
Now, before you go to that, even though the finance ministry says there's an approval or whatever it is, ACE's view, which you have spoken to about the case in Klomega versus the Attorney General, there's a portion of the law he spoke to which was that the Supreme Court was saying that says the Supreme Court agreed with us that Article 1815, parliamentary approval, only applies if the entity involved in the international business or economic transaction is the government. If the entity involved is the government, the court defined government to mean ordinarily the central government and not operationally autonomous agencies. And I think that is of significance. Yes. And not autonomous and not operationally autonomous agencies. Yes. The oversight duty with the international business or economic transaction of such entities, the court held was that of their respective boards and the appropriate ministries, not Parliament. Parliament should not be sucked into unnecessary minutiae by having the function of approving the international business economic transactions of statutory operations. Okay, but he also noted that the court cautioned that it will, however, the government would not be allowed to hide under this rule to breach the law. Then he goes on to show you the Bank of Ghana law and the portions that actually give the Bank of Ghana the power to undertake this transaction.
What I'm saying to you, the money we are taking is not money that belongs to the Bank of Ghana.
I see.
It's the money that belongs to the people of Ghana.
Okay.
In Klomega, the money or the borrowing term that they were taking was on the balance sheet of GHPA. It's their money.
GPHA.
GPHA. It's their money.
Okay.
So you can distinguish that from what is
now proceed to your next one.
Now, secondly, listen to the bank. If you do the calculation as we have put out, it means that this window was open for only 4 hours. Just 4 hours. It was issued first by 5:37, when ordinarily Ghana, we all close at 5. Ordinarily, we all close at 5. So the presumption is even that all those who will be interested would have left. And then the following day by 9, something happened. And we are saying that even that small window, compared to other bonds that we've issued, the last one that we issued was started in September and was closed in November. So it gave people the opportunity, as many people opportunity, to participate. This one, my brother talks about they being in a hurry. But you see, this is public funds, and you don't use your being hurry to do things the way you like. Due process must be followed. Everybody should be.
They explain the modes, the 2 modes,
yes,
and the options that they are entitled to take, which is nothing wrong.
No, it's wrong. We are saying that, listen, we are saying that when you are doing such a bond sale, if somebody were in Australia and he wanted to participate, 4 hours, how on earth was he going to participate? Please. I'm saying, let's be very clear. You see, and I'm not surprised that people like the Delix finance guy, something Thompson, is it
Ken Thompson.
Did you hear what he said?
What did he say?
He said technically the thing was shrouded. They even didn't have the point. The thing was shrouded in secrecy. Go and read. You can interview him or you can go for his interview. So even those people here, there are people here who didn't have the opportunity, who didn't hear. By the time they got to know, the window has closed. Settlement has happened. And we are saying that, look, all this went to show that it wasn't very transparent as it should be.
I see.
So we haven't said anything.
You are still on the call for parliamentary probe
and the fact that due process did not go through well.
I see.
Now let's go to our third leg, which is the conflict of interest. Look, take it or leave it. Like my brother would say, fry it or what? Bake it. Or whether you like it or not. The circumstances lead to, if for nothing at all, I will go for his word, a semblance of what? Conflict of interest. And we say so. To the extent that we don't have all the facts that we want to have. Appropriate body, investigate and let's see and hope that Ghana is not sure. Because Because in one day, NPP people are saying that, oh, we saved the country 600 million. I don't know where it is.
The cost of doing all these things.
We are also saying that they benefited 600 million per our own calculation.
Okay.
So, yes, so we are saying that the only thing that can happen is that, please, let's have an investigation. Because it hasn't been denied. One, the conflict of interest is in 3 different forms. One, I take Gloria Kufu to that. Because having been sworn in an attorney general, the expectation was that immediately should have resigned from all boards. She didn't. So, in this particular case, because she was attorney general and by convention she was expected to have given an opinion if the proper processes had been gone through.
Okay.
We believe that there's a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Oh no, I haven't finished. 2, the Minister of Finance clearly has a relational interest, a personal relationship with many people concerned with this board. My understanding, I will start to be corrected, that even the banks, Stanbic and Barclays, were acting for both sides. That's what has come to my
It's all suspicious.
I am saying that is the more reason why we need to get to the bottom of this. In other places, people would have resigned just by the semblance of conflict of interest. You may not have a problem with it, but we do have a problem.
Okay.
It is our duty as opposition to keep the government on its toes.
Thank
so
you.
we will continue to interrogate this matter till the time that we are satisfied.
Thank you.
Now,
Kweku, what do you say? And some would like to point the government to something that, are they not too much in a haste to say, oh, there's nothing untoward and so everything should end there? You know, there's a story in the Bank of England, is it, where the deputy governor has had to resign on grounds of potential conflict of interest simply because of a relationship to someone.
You know what? I am in full support of the NDC's call for a parliamentary probe, as well as their decision to go to Shraj. I really would love the day the process begins and ends, because by the day it ends, we will see that Vice President Bawumia is damn right that this whole thing is driven by ignorance, mischief, misinformation, disinformation. It's just noise. But they are entitled to make noise. This is a democracy. Now, let's go step by step. My brother is wrong when he talks of 4 hours. This is an official document. It's coming from the Joint Book Runners and Deal Team. Barclays, SAS, that's Strategic African Securities, the Stanbic Bank. I'm looking at the 15-year one. They are almost the same. Offer period, Thursday, 30th March 2017. Release of initial pricing guidance. That's Thursday. Friday, 31st March 2017. Book build opens 9 a.m. Revised pricing guidelines released as necessary during the book build. Friday, 31st March 2017. Revised and final price guidance released as necessary during the book build. Books to close on short notice on Friday evening. Monday, 3rd April, a settlement issue date. Clearly, 4 hours is out of the place.
Okay, 4 hours is out of the place. We'll take a final break, quick one. We'll return and hear from Kweku Bako. You're welcome back to your most authoritative news analysis show. My guest, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, George Lowe, Kofi Bento, and Kweku Bako. Kweku Bako is on the floor.
It's obvious.
Is this disproving the NDC's claim that this thing took place within how many hours? Yes.
4 hours. That's
4
out.
hours, yeah.
That's completely out. And obviously we don't have time. It's so sad. But if you go to the 2015, November 13th, Hansard.
I said you have the
You have the decision by government to use book building approach and issuing of what they call issuance calendars and using more the Ghana Stock Exchange as the basis. If I read, it's too long, so I can't read it. I'm summarizing.
All right.
So 2016, 2015, 2016, 2017, they've been using this is issuance calendar for Government of Ghana securities. This is the April to June 2016 edition. It's notice to primary dealers, banks, stockbrokers, and the general public. All the figures then are brought. What is at stake? Which bond is available? Which year, duration? Everything is here. And all the banks involved, this is known to them. Immediately is issued. I have those from 2015. I have gone for all the issuance calendars from 2015 to today. And the bonds that were put on the market
by NDC.
By the NDC. I have it all here. Not a single one that is on the domestic debt market. Not a single one went to Parliament. Because Parliament had agreed, and indeed in the present budget, the 2017 budget, it is also indicated that that process will be continued. Government will issue the bonds that we are talking here of the local market, the domestic debt market.
But we are not even agreeing that it's a local transaction.
Oh, but that's really wrong.
Yeah, no, that's
another fallacy.
We do not agree.
It is an uneducated view.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
it is.
No. I said that this is. I mean, that is your view.
Thank you. Thank you.
The issue of transparency. Parliament, in fact, in the 2015 answered here, he said this whole thing of an issuance calendar is being done to promote transparency. If you want me to read it, I'll read it. It's here. So since then, the Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, have been doing this issuance calendar, which goes to the notice of all the market players consistently. And it's 3 months. Occasionally, they've done revision for a particular month when the market challenges. The Bank of Ghana website, Ministry of Finance website, the Central, the Ghana Stock Exchange website, it's all there. All this material, this April one I've shown you here. So transparency, you said secrecy and transparency, but that flies in the face of this publication, which is the methodology that Parliament has approved to be used, which all the market players are aware of. So when you talk lack of transparency and the cloud of secrecy, it flies in the face of this method that you all adopted.
That's why we are raising the 4 hours.
Hold on.
And again, if you go to the Central Securities Depository of the Ghana Stock Exchange, you see the list of 25 people, institutions that participated. Not 2, as they said.
Kweku.
Oh, you said 2.
Kweku, can we deal quickly with the issue of the conflict of interest? The president may have announced that I'm appointing this finance minister because he's got connections all over the world.
Crucial.
With international financial institutions. But is it not critical for disclosures? And if there's no non-disclosure, are they not right to raise the issues?
As far as I know, Ofurata's interest in enterprise business is public. It's known. I'm told it's even in his access declaration. So that is there. Now this FT group has been dealing with that. They even already, as we speak, hold 2 billion of our thing. They already here. Now, is somebody suggesting that because Kennedy Ofurata has a certain relation, that or his company has a certain relationship with FT, the very moment he became finance minister, FT's dealings or credibility should be questioned? They're already here. They are doing it. If Ken's interest in enterprise had not been disclosed, that's another matter. But it's of public knowledge.
Now
it's public record.
Hold on briefly, Kweku. Let's hear Dr. Emmanuel Akwete. Yes, let's hear Dr. Emmanuel Akwete. We understand that Franklin Templeton manages close to or over $1 trillion, you know, of money for some 20 plus million, you know, shareholders. Should that reputation alone not take away the fears they have?
I think that the opposition or minority in role reversals, whether it's the MPP or do this kind of business.
Right.
They speak before they've looked at the facts and are certified that yes, what they suspect has a basis or not. Okay, and I think that is where maybe the ministry's statement that the minister, deputy minister who spoke, knows what happens, and therefore could have verified or gone through a lot before.
Thank you.
So the propaganda bit is there. But the other thing too is that I think it's good they spoke out. Okay, the way they saw things, because it's their role, and they've raised issues and explanations that have come up. But I read an interesting article yesterday in the graphic by Enumil Ashon, who said that, look, the person we're dealing with, that is the Minister of Finance, has a track record of integrity. And that is well known.
It must count for something.
And so it is important that he spoke to the issue, just to clear his name. Because I think all these accusations and whatever has something to do with either they looking at him or whatever. Okay, so I'm interested in, the ministry has issued a statement, and a lot of issues are being made around his relationship with the temple thing and so on and so forth. But I think for me, I'm inspired by the fact that a government comes to power and says, I will protect the public purse. And is also taking measures to make sure that public money is spent wisely, is saved, and so on.
Is what the minority asking worth pursuing?
The minority is playing its role. Okay, it's not the perfect role, it's not the ideal, but the issues they've raised have brought greater transparency or insight into what happened, light into what happened to the public. I think they are there also to help educate the public, to show what happened.
Well, maybe education by negative experience.
No. I think I've seen both parties do the same.
Was Dr. Bawumia too harsh in saying they were ignorant?
I thought Dr. Bawumia was a bit harsh in the language he used. You don't understand the Ghanaian economy, you are ignorant, or, you know, I thought that it was not. I think we should all look at how we use political language in the office we hold and in handling some of these matters. But, you know, he's also learning, he's new in the situation. Okay. And I think we should take it in that spirit.
Too bad time.
Some good has been done anyway.
Yeah, we just ran out of time.
No, they didn't
Dr. Emmanuel Akwete. Dr. Emmanuel Akwete is the executive director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC. George Lowe is former member of Parliament for North Zai, and he's a lawyer. Kofi Bentil is vice president of Imani Ghana and is also a lawyer. Abdul Malik Kwekubako is editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper and is the only permanent guest on this show. Have a good afternoon. I'm Samson Ladi Ayenini.
I like that.
You have no intentions of retiring now.